嗨，大家好，欢迎回到 Billy Money， 我是 Billy。2年前，我投资了一家名叫 Equiton 的加拿大私募房地产基金。出于强烈的好奇和兴趣呢，我特地前往他们位于多伦多的公司，并和他们公司的融资部副总裁 Austin Rogers 进行了一次深入访谈。那么在这次对话中呢，我们探讨了很多让我非常感兴趣的话题，像是为什么这支基金的表现能几乎直线式的持续上涨。美国对加拿大征收25%的关税会对加拿大的经济和房地产市场造成什么样的影响？Equiton 未来的战略规划和 Austin 本人的投资风格，他究竟是偏好主动管理，还是更喜欢被动策略？以及对首次接触私募房地产的投资者有什么建议 ？Austin 在 Equiton 工作已经有5年的时间了，算是公司的元老之一，见证了基金从几千万一路成长到如今的12亿的规模。他对公司的运作和企业文化都非常了解。如果你对加拿大的公寓楼投资感兴趣呢，或者想进一步认识 Equiton 这家私募基金，不妨花几分钟呢看看这期视频。我相信你看完之后会对私募房地产信托基金这个行业以及 Equiton 基金的模式有一个全面更深入的认识。好了，废话不多说，让我们开始吧。
My name is Austin Rogers. I am the Vice President of the Private Capital Markets at Equiton. I've actually been with the company now for about 6 years, and I currently help with the retail division of our team, dealing with customer service, new fundraise, and also just dealing with clients on a day-to-day basis. So with Equiton, we do have some primary focuses. For example, we specialize in different real estate categories like apartments, but we also specialize in things like development projects. When you look at the Canadian landscape, you get an idea for the imbalance that we have right now as far as it relates to demand and supply. We've got a really bad issue of not developing enough real estate to be able to keep up with the level of demand that exists here in Canada. And that presents itself in many different ways. When you look at the development side of our business, development is in a position right now where we just can't do enough to build more homes. And that's because of a lot of tight regulations, long drawn out processes.
Also labor shortage, right?
Absolutely, yeah, those will play an impact as well too. And so for us, we've really been able to focus on some really niche markets that have done well. For example, we're doing developments on townhomes, which are still a very in-demand segment of the market. We're also looking at mid-rise condos. So we're not building any huge skyscrapers at this point. We're really focusing on more of these want-to-live-in, end-user-focused mid-sized condos because that's where people actually are interested in wanting to buy and live. But on the flip side, you've also got apartment buildings where purpose-built rentals right now are in huge demand because of the amount of people who either can't afford one of the absurd prices for homes here in Canada, but also for people that just need a place to live. And so when you look at the lack of new housing that's available, there's not a lot left over. And so people are kind of forced into this renter category. And that's where we come in to be able to provide great housing solutions, help in providing good stock to the marketplace, and provide a good solution for somebody that needs a place to rent with a good landlord like Equiton Living. This particular category of investing has consistently been stable. And so, yes, we've been able to do a fantastic job, but I'd actually argue that anyone can go out and look up an index in Canada. It's called the Private Canadian Apartment Index. And it's actually tracked by a company called MSCI.
MSCI, yeah, I knew MSCI. We track a lot of index.
Exactly, yeah. And so the reason I really highlight that is because if you look at this Private Canadian Apartment Index, it has had about 35 plus years of positive returns, which means it's literally one of the only indexes within Canada that has never had a negative annual return. And I think, again, it just goes back to the nature of how long the supply-demand imbalance has really existed in Canada, and showing that apartment buildings in general can be a very stable asset class. So Equiton has been able to come up, introduce the apartment fund back in 2015, really started raising capital in 2016, and we've had a really good ride because we've had really prudent and strong financial management. We've operated buildings to what I would say is really good capacity. We have great balance when it comes to our Equiton Living division. So we attract a really good quality of tenant. And because of that, we're able to generate very consistent returns from one of the most simple strategies in real estate of buying and holding good rental properties. So I think all of that plays a part in our consistency over the last 9 years of the fund, but also shows that the industry as a whole has been very consistent for 35 plus years.
Yeah, when I look our like financial report at 2 years ago, when the interest rates raising.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's doing very well.
Yeah, and interest rates was an interesting one because, look, apartments are not immune to interest rate swings, right? And I would say, if anything, they're probably the most impacted because of just the size and scale of the particular buildings that we own. But when you look at our portfolio, one of the things that I think we have done very well is that ever since inception, back in 2015, we've always been purchasing a majority of our properties with 10-year fixed rate mortgages. So for example, when we had the interest rate crisis, and I'll call it a crisis just with the swiftness at which it moved, we were very well protected and insulated because we didn't have variable rate mortgages. We weren't getting hit by the sudden increase in expenses related to that. And instead, we had a very conservative fixed interest rate across our portfolio. And that allowed us to ensure that we knew exactly what our expenses were going to look like. And we were able to forecast what that was going to impact our portfolio by. And we came out very well. We had consistent returns. We actually achieved one of our record returns in 2022. And again, I just think that's a testament to the prudent financial setup of our company and being able to maintain really strong internal controls to protect ourselves against any of those volatile swings. A lot of people don't know this, but our portfolio throughout that time frame of 2022, 2023 actually maintained an average interest rate of the low 3% with a maturity date that was still 6-7 years out.
Yeah, and also the loan to value is pretty good.
Yeah, loan to value is another aspect as well, and I'm glad you bring that up because our loan to value has typically hovered around the 50% mark.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Which just shows that as a company we maintain a very conservative structure as it relates to our debt. Yeah, I mean, as far as the tariffs are concerned, will it produce a positive or a negative? I think it's a negative.
Yeah.
You know, the tariffs are going to be definitely a hard thing to deal with here in Canada. You know, with a portfolio like ours, what we really focus on is just what we can control. You know, when people ask about our apartment portfolio, for example, and how tariffs might impact it, the good news is there's no direct impact.
Yeah.
It's not like the tariffs are immediately impacting the rent prices that people are paying. You know, where you could see impacts is in renovation costs, right? But a part there that I think is important to note is that when you look at renovation costs, a huge portion of the cost is labor. It's not always the material. You know, if you have an electrician coming in or you're painting the walls of a building, that's a huge cost of labor. So there's no major impact to the labor cost, but you'll have smaller consequential changes to the materials. But that's a choice that we make on how much we want to spend on renovations in a given year. And so we can be strategic in an environment like this to make sure that we're doing the right fixes and renovating the right units that are going to be cost effective. So this way we can mitigate any impact of tariffs. Absolutely. So these are levers that we can pull to be able to be strategic on how we want to deploy capital and where that's going to impact the portfolio. Look, I've been here for almost 6 years now with Equiton. When I had joined back in 2019, the firm was only about $95 million in assets that we managed.
Yeah, right now our number is 1 million, right?
Yeah, today we're a little over 1.3 billion just on the apartment fund, and as a company as a whole, we're a little over 1.4 billion dollars in assets under management.
That's pretty quick, yeah.
It's been great to see as a Canadian company that's Canadian owned and Canadian operated to be able to see that level of success. And going forward, we're really just focused on sticking to what we've been doing best, which is having strong internal controls, delivering good customer service, focusing on providing investment solutions that are good for everybody across Canada, and really not making any major shifts or changes in an environment like this. It's just stick to what you know, keep focusing on those strategies that have gotten us here, and develop and refine to make ourselves a little bit better. So I think now we're focused on getting to the $2 billion mark and then the $3 billion mark. And so it'll be nice to see when we start to cross some of those additional milestones in the next few years.
Pretty exciting.
So I would say that if you had asked me the question a few years ago, I wanted to be an active investor.
Active.
Key word there, I wanted to be an active investor. And I had owned a condo property as a rental, and I realized that about...
Toronto?
Yeah, I was actually in Etobicoke, so just in the GTA here. And after about 2 years of owning that as a rental, I realized that I didn't have the time nor the real interest of going out and wanting to manage my own properties. And so that's where me working with Equiton, I realized that I think I am a bit more of a passive investor now when it comes to real estate.
Yeah.
So for me personally, you know, I like to think that I'm young, I've still got a long time horizon to be investing, and so I still have a fairly substantial portion of my portfolio in things like stocks because I don't mind the volatility given my time horizon. But I do maintain ownership of anywhere between 15 to 20% of my portfolio in private alternatives. So actually not far off what your strategy was as well too. And that's one of the things that I think is important to recognize about private investments is that we're not here saying that this is the solution for somebody's entire portfolio.
Absolutely.
I think that the benefit and beautiful part about private investing is that it can be a really great part of an investment portfolio. And it diversifies you. It takes you away from the volatility of the public markets. I mean, case in point, look at the markets over the last week or two and you'll be no shortage of finding a lot of volatility and swings in the marketplace there. And so that's where for my portfolio, I can handle the swings, I can reallocate and do what I need to do, but I also know that there's this 20% of my portfolio that I know what to expect, and I have a better idea where the returns are going to be, and it's completely separated itself from the volatility of the public markets.
So what's another 80%?
Yeah, so the 80% for me is really just focusing on stocks.
Stocks. So you prefer ETF or?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or a specific stock like that.
So for me, I generally go with a lot of indexes just to give myself good spread across the industry, and then I still go out and find a couple individual stocks because I love the research.
Oh, yeah.
Just like I loved looking at Equiton when I joined the company, I love doing my research on new companies and finding different ways of allocating my capital to try to find the best returns. But the one thing I found out is that that's never as easy as what it seems to be in the public market. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think the most important thing when you're new to private REITs is getting started. Because the problem I think that most of us face is that you can get into paralysis by analysis. You get so caught up in trying to understand all the little details and where the market's going to go and how the tariffs impact and where's the current economy at today, is it the right time to invest? And I think the truth is when you look at real estate over a long enough period of time, if you've got a time horizon of 5 to 10 years plus and you want to try getting involved with real estate, try it. Get some exposure, give it a shot, get yourself involved. As small as it may be, it's an opportunity to watch how it works, get involved with the company, understand the reporting, check out how to monitor the investment. All of those little details over time will make you much more comfortable.
Yeah.
And not only get involved with private REITs, but maybe even broaden your horizons to what other investments are out there in the world too. So the biggest piece of advice I can give is start, as small as it may be for the first investment. It gives you the exposure and it's a great learning curve.
Give it a try. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks for coming in.
奥斯汀提到呢，加拿大可居住的土地面积其实很有限，加上各类法律法规和人口需求的不断增长，导致盖房速度远不及租房需求。在这样一个供不应求的市场里，公寓类型的私募基金往往表现得非常稳健。不管经历多少经济危机或利率波动，居住刚需不会消失。就算经济下滑，人们依然需要一个住处。奥斯汀也介绍，他们会专门收购那些价格合适、社区优质的公寓，并通过专业化的管理，为租客提供安全舒适的居住环境，这就为投资者带来稳定的收益。如果我打算自己做房东，买房在加拿大投资房地产，那么少则呢需要投出10几万的加币作为首付，还需要花时间和精力去打理物业和租客。那相比之下呢，通过 Equiton 这种私募基金，既能够分散风险，又省去了繁琐的管理。对我这种想要在加拿大房地产市场呢分一杯羹，又不想当房东的投资者来说呢，非常的省心。总体来说 ，Austin 的专业和独特的观点，让我对投资加拿大私募公寓楼基金呢更有信心。这是一个小众却极具价值的市场啊！随着更多优质房产被收购和专业化运营，基金的规模和收益呢也不断的提升。我个人觉得，如果你想在加拿大房地产市场投资呢，又不想自己去挑房、 管理租客，那么 Equiton 这样的私募基金呢，可能是不错的选择。当然，任何的投资都要结合自身的财务状况和风险承受能力。但我的经验而言呢，把资金的一部分分配到这里，确实让我省心不少，也更容易把握长期增长的机会。那么，如果你对 Equiton 这家基金呢也感兴趣，欢迎你在下方点击链接预约投资经理留下你的信息。只要投资成功，还可以获得200加币的现金奖励。心动不如行动，赶快去点击了解一下，看看它是否符合你的投资需求。如果你还有其他想了解的投资话题呢，或者是对今天的访谈有任何的疑问，我也欢迎大家在评论区给我留言，我会尽力的为大家解答。最后，感谢你的支持，我是 Billy，我们下期视频再见，拜。